You stopped walking because everyone else stopped walking. You didn't decide to. You didn't ask why. A small crowd on the sidewalk paused, tilted their heads up toward a building, and your feet slowed before your mind ever caught up. You looked where they looked. You searched for whatever they were searching for, but there was nothing there. You've been doing this your whole life. You laugh a half second after the room laughs. You clap because the clapping already started. You order what the table orders. It feels like a choice. It feels like you. But the real answer is far stranger. Because the part of you that follows the crowd is older than language. It is older than farming. It is older than the idea of you as a single, separate person at all. It was carved into your nervous system across hundreds of thousands of years, back when doing exactly what everyone else did was the single most reliable way to stay alive. And that machinery never switched off. You still run on it, right now. Imagine your ancestor standing at the edge of a tree line. The grass is tall, the sun is low, and suddenly the whole group turns and runs. Your ancestor has two options. Option one, stop, think, gather evidence, decide whether the threat is real. Option two, run first, ask never. The one who stopped to think got eaten. The one who ran without thinking became your great-great-great-grandparent. Multiply that choice across 10,000 generations, across 100,000 years of predators and cliffs and poisoned water and rival tribes. What survives is not the brain that reasons, it is the brain that copies. So your brain built a shortcut. If everyone is doing something, it is probably right, and there is probably no time to find out why. That shortcut was so useful, so deadly accurate at keeping bodies alive, that it became a default setting. Not a decision you make, a reflex you can't feel yourself making. But here is where it gets uncomfortable. That same reflex is still firing inside you in a world with no predators in the grass. It fires in meetings. It fires in comment sections. It fires when you're deciding what you believe. And most of the time, you have no idea it's happening at all. How do we know? Because a handful of researchers built rooms specifically designed to catch it in the act. In 1935, a psychologist named Muzafer Sherif ran one of the first. He put people in a completely dark room and showed them a single point of light. Now that light was perfectly still, but in total darkness with nothing to anchor your eyes, a stationary dot appears to drift on its own. It's an illusion. Your eyes invent the motion. Sharif asked each person, alone, how far the light moved. Everyone gave wildly different answers. One person said 2 inches. Another said 10. There was no agreement because there was no truth. The light never moved at all. Then he brought them together in a group and asked again, and something eerie happened. Their answers began to slide toward each other. Person by person, guess by guess, the group converged on a single shared number. They built a correct answer out of thin air. And here is the part that should unsettle you. When Sheriff brought them back a full year later, alone, in the dark, they still gave the group's number, not their own. The group had rewritten their private reality, and they never noticed the pen. Think about what that means. A room full of people, staring at nothing, agreed on a measurement of nothing, and then carried that nothing home and kept it for a year. Now, maybe you're telling yourself you'd be different. Maybe you're thinking, that only worked because the answer was genuinely unknowable. In the dark, sure. But when something is obvious, when you can see the truth with your own 2 eyes, surely the crowd can't move you then. A man named Solomon Asch decided to test exactly that. In the 1950s, Asch sat a person at a table with a group of others. What that one person didn't know was that everyone else was an actor. The task was almost insultingly simple. Look at a line on a card, then look at 3 other lines. Say which one matches the length of the first. A child could do it. The answer was never in doubt. Round after round, everyone gave the obvious correct answer. Then, on a planned round, the actors all calmly gave the same wrong answer. Every single one of them pointed at a line that was clearly, visibly, too long. And they said it with total confidence. Now it's your turn to answer. Your eyes are screaming the truth, but every voice in the room just disagreed with your eyes. What do? About 1 in 3 times, the real subject caved. They looked at a line they could plainly see was wrong, and they said the wrong answer out loud, just to match the group. Across the whole experiment, a large majority of people denied their own eyes at least once. They didn't fold because they were stupid. They folded because being the lone voice against the group felt on some ancient level like standing alone at that tree line. Exposed, unsafe, wrong to be right. And when Asch asked them afterward why they did it, the answers split in a haunting way. Some knew the group was wrong and went along anyway, just to avoid the discomfort of standing out. But others swore the group must have been right. They had actually started to see the wrong line as correct. The crowd hadn't just changed their words, it had reached inside and bent what they saw. Which raises a darker question. When you agree with everyone around you, are you really agreeing? Or has your brain quietly edited the evidence to keep the peace? For a long time, nobody could answer that. You couldn't open a skull and watch. Then, in 2005, a neuroscientist named Gregory Berns did something close to it. He ran a version of the conformity experiment while people lay inside a brain scanner. He wanted to see, at the level of neurons, what was happening when someone bent to the group. He expected to find activity in the front of the brain, the decision-making part, the part that would light up if you were consciously, deliberately choosing to go along. As if to say, I know the truth, but I'll lie to fit in. That is not what he found. When people conformed, the activity showed up in the regions that handle vision and spatial perception, the parts that build what you actually see. In other words, the crowd wasn't overriding their judgment at the last second. It was changing what reached their eyes in the first place. Your ancestors didn't survive by choosing to agree. They survived by literally perceiving the world the way the group perceived it. The herd doesn't just pull your behavior, it reaches back into your senses. And on the rare occasions people held firm and stood against the group, Berns saw activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear and threat center, the exact same region that fires when you're afraid. Standing alone, being the one who disagrees, registers in your body as danger, real physical danger. Your brain treats going against the crowd the same way it treats a snake in the grass. Let that land for a second. Disagreeing with everyone around you doesn't just feel awkward. To the oldest part of your brain, it feels like it might kill you. So of course you follow. Following was never weakness. Following was the strategy that kept your bloodline breathing. But you don't need a lab to see this. You can watch it on any street corner. In 1969, the psychologist Stanley Milgram ran a beautifully simple experiment in New York City. He had one person stop on a busy sidewalk and stare up at a window. Just one person. Most pedestrians walked right past, barely glancing. Then he tried it with a small group all staring up together, and the crowd around them swelled. Passers-by stopped. They looked up. They searched the empty window for whatever wasn't there. The bigger the staring group got, the more strangers were pulled in, until a knot of people stood craning their necks at absolutely nothing. You already know this scene, because it's the one this whole story started with. You, on the sidewalk, looking up because they looked up. Now you know your feet were obeying something the size of an ice age. Here's the twist though. This instinct is not your enemy. It's easy to hear all this and feel like a puppet, like your choices were never yours. But the herd instinct built everything you love. Language only works because we copy each other's sounds. Culture is just conformity with a memory. Every song you know the words to, every tradition, every shared joke, every moment you felt part of something larger than yourself, all of it runs on the same ancient wiring that makes you look up at an empty window. The urge to match the group is the same urge that lets a group exist at all. The problem was never that you follow. The problem is that the instinct can't tell the difference between a stampede towards safety and a stampede off a cliff. It evolved for a world of 40 faces you knew by name. It did not evolve for a screen showing you what 40 million strangers are outraged about this morning. It sees the numbers, it counts the crowd, and it whispers the same word it whispered on the savannah: follow. So think about the last thing you were certain about, the opinion that felt like bedrock, the thing you just knew. Now ask yourself the only honest question. Did you arrive there by looking at the evidence? Or did you arrive there because the people around you were already standing there, staring up, and your eyes drifted to the same empty window? You may never fully know. That's what Sherif and Asch and Berns really discovered. The crowd doesn't announce itself. It doesn't feel like pressure. It feels like your own mind. It feels like truth. That is exactly what makes it so powerful, and exactly why you almost never catch it. But now you can. Not always, not perfectly, but now, sometimes, in the half second before your feet slow down, a small voice can ask a question your ancestors never had time to ask. Is this real? Or is this just everyone? That question is one of the newest things your brain can do. The following is one of the oldest. And every day, quietly, they argue inside you. So the next time everyone stops walking, and you stop too, before you even know why, remember what's really happening. You didn't lose control in that moment. You inherited it. 10,000 generations reached forward through time and moved your feet for you. You stopped walking because everyone else stopped walking. And for almost all of human history, that was the smartest thing you could possibly do.